Chapter 921, Opening the Immortal Trove. An adage says that those who sow virtuous deeds will harvest rewards, while those who plant evils will reap retributions. It's not that the retribution never comes, it's just the time hasn't yet arrived. These vicious and fiendish people had done inexplicable crimes and evils, and now, retribution had come knocking at their door. No matter if it was Tang Xiu or Shui Yu, none of them had the slightest sympathy for them, while Tang Xiu himself was a man who had experienced too many things. He was deeply aware of the truth that eradicating fiendish people meant that countless good people would be protected from their scourge. All right. We'll hike up the mountains tonight. Tang Xiu looked up and spoke to Shui Yu after he hung up the call. Shui Yu nodded. She understood Tang Xiu's character. He never liked to be in the limelight and never liked to deal with trivial yet troublesome matters. Since the police would come over later, it was better for them to leave earlier. Come on everyone, hurry up. Don't let Mr. Tang and his wife have any accidents. Uncle Jia's voice was heard outside the courtyard fence, whereas they could hear people's footsteps getting clearer. Tang Xiu and Shui Yu exchanged glances and they stepped out of the house. Outside, they saw Uncle Jia leading hundreds of men, women, and children, and they were now just less than 20 meters away from the front gate. When Uncle Jia saw Tang Xiu and Shui Yu coming out, he suddenly looked pleasantly surprised. He then ran over and asked, "Are you all right, Mr. Tang?" Tang Xiu was somewhat touched on the inside. He could easily imagine how Uncle Jia felt restless for him and Shui Yu. After he came here, he immediately summoned all the villagers. All of these hundreds of people made up almost all of the inhabitants of the entire village. Uncle Jia, we're all right, really. Uncle Jia heavily nodded and said, "This place is not safe, Mr. Tang. Hurry up and leave while there are only a few of the bad guys here." "How many hunters came here exactly?" asked Tang Xiu. "Just 7, but each of them is a ruthless man," answered Uncle Jia. "If there are only 7 of them, then there'll be no problem anymore," said Tang Xiu smilingly. "They are all inside the house now and I've knocked all of them down. By the way, the police will soon arrive, so we need to set off first. When the police get here, you can hand over these hunters to them." Uncle Jia gawked and stared blankly before he snappily said, "You're an adult, Mr. Tang. How can you spit out such a joke at this time? Just listen to me. You'd better leave the troubles here and snatch the time and chance to leave. We can find some reason to avoid those bad people when they come again." Many villagers of this village had met Tang Xiu before and also shouted, "Yeah, Mr. Tang. You don't know how bad those people are. They have machetes and guns, so you gotta hurry in leaving this place. Mr. Tang, Grandpa Jia didn't joke with you. Just hurry up, else you won't be able to go after those bad guys. Come back here. Aya, you're still too young. You have no idea what danger is looming ahead. Those bastards are simply evil. They even dare to kill people. Hurry up and go." Tang Xiu watched those simple yet pure appearances, each containing an expression of concern on their faces. He silently put aside what emotions he felt on the inside and said, "Everyone, just come to the house with me if you don't believe me. I've already subdued those 7 bad guys and they are now inside." Mr. Tang. Upon seeing that Tang Xiu was still talking ridiculously, Uncle Jia immediately felt so vexed that he angrily stamped his feet and said, "You really like to brag, huh? All right, I'll go inside and have a look." Having said that, he strode into the house's door, yet his pace came to an abrupt halt when he saw the scene inside, while a look of disbelief was cast on his aging face. The dozens of villagers who followed behind him also stopped suddenly. They were like losing their souls, tongue-tied and dumbfounded. They stared at the 7 men who laid on the ground like dead dogs. "Oh my God. Am I not dreaming? Did these bad guys really get beaten by Mr. Tang? How's this possible? These bastards have machetes and guns. How can they be trashed like this by Mr. Tang? Is Mr. Tang an expert martial artist from the martial arts world, someone not even afraid of bullets? I clearly heard gunshots before. Damn. This is amazing. Tang Xiao kept smiling while listening to the voices of the villagers who were sobering up from their stunned state. Then he said with a smile, "Everyone, you've seen everything now. All these bad guys have been beaten by me, so hurry up and search if they have some dangerous goods. Also, it's best to find some strong rope to tie them up. If they were to wake up before the police arrive, they would definitely try to do something dangerous to you." Uncle Jia seemed like he just woke up from a dream and hurriedly shouted, "Yes. Yes. That's right. Mr. Tang is correct. All adults, you go and find some rope. They must be thick and strong to tie all these bad guys. Our village will be peaceful again as long as the lawmen come here and take them away." Quickly, Tang Xiao and Shuiyu left the village under the respectful gazes of all the villagers, leaving the off-road car left by Jia Weili in the village. As the hazy dim night came and the stars appeared in the night sky, the duo finally arrived at their destination. Back then, Tang Xiao originally planned to use the cave to grow the efficacious medicinal herbs, yet he eventually took all of those herbs due to the appearance of occult sex people, which included the events of killing Jin Sanqi and Jin Sijie here. Nevertheless, the spiritual qi of the world in this place was still much richer than the outside world. "Hey, are you tired?" Tang Xiao, who was looking up at the top of the cave, took his gaze back and found that there was a weary look on Shuiyu's face and that she appeared a bit dispirited. "A bit." Shuiyu gently nodded. "You should take rest first while I'm studying this 6 starlight array," said Tang Xiao with a smile. "I'm going to ask you again if I bump into something I don't understand though." "No. Let's study it together." Shuiyu shook her head and said, "I want to try to open this immortal trove soon." She was very clear that the Lian family in Ning City would always be a mortal malady to them. If they couldn't eradicate them as fast as possible, then it was needless to say that Tang Xiao was also concerned, while she herself felt a bit uneasy. She also knew that this immortal trove had been in existence for a long time, yet it had never been opened once. It kept nagging Tang Xiao's mind, so the earlier they could open this immortal trove and make sure what was stored inside, the earlier Tang Xiao could resolve his concerns. After spending all night studying it, the duo constantly attempted to grasp it and discussed their findings. Yet, the more they understood the mysteriousness of this 6 starlight array, the more mystery they discovered from it. Nevertheless, after days and nights passed by and the third day came, the duo finally comprehended all the mysteries of the 6 starlight array. "Let me try it." Tang Xiao pointer finger acted like a flying sword as he began cracking the mystery of the array, according to the orientation of the 6 starlight array. When he had done all the correct methods he thought of, to his surprise, the 6 starlight array only emitted a strong beam and then dissipated again silently. "No, it shouldn't be," exclaimed Shuiyu, frowning. "Our cracking method should be correct given the reaction from the 6 starlight array. How can it be terminated halfway?" Tang Xiao was similarly puzzled. After being silent for a while, he touched his chin and murmured, "I think there's something we overlooked. The 6 starlight array is not an array from our country, but from the Western countries. The person who originally arranged this array must have other considerations in mind, but what exactly is it?" Shuiyu shook her head and looked a bit frustrated. "Let's drop it now and have some food. I haven't had any grub for a day now." Tang Xiao nodded in response. He and Shuiyu had spent enormous energy after researching it for days. They had even overdrafted their physical strength a bit. He was actually fine since he was an expert with a formidable physique and strength, allowing him to pass on drinking, eating, or sleeping for 3 to 5 days, but it was different for Shuiyu. Immediately after, Tang Xiao took out some tableware from his interspatial ring before taking out some cooked meals, cold dishes, and some drinks and other types of delicacies. Then he said smilingly, "You should take a good sleep after the meal, alright? Maybe you'll have some miraculous insight after relaxing and will suddenly think of the crux of the problem. All right, let's sleep together, said Shuiyu with a chuckle. Tang Xiu inhaled deeply and forced a wry smile. I'm not that sleepy, actually. I'll be fine if don't sleep for several days. Besides, I have an agreement with Miao Wenong that I'll return to Ning City in 7 days. Today is already the 4th day, so I'm afraid we'll go back disappointed again if we don't have any way to open this immortal trove. Did you forget what you just told me, that you should turn around and forget it first, rebuked Shuiyu? Maybe you can have a revelation after the meal and after taking a good sleep. Besides, we're just stuck 1 step away, so you may be able to open this immortal trove at any time as long as you can figure it out. Tang Xiu couldn't help but laugh after hearing that his speech to Shuiyu just now was now used to strike him back. After hesitating a bit, he then took out 2 crystal cups and a bottle of red wine from his interspatial ring. After uncapping the cork, he filled the 2 cups and smilingly said, "People say that red wine is great for beautifying your face. Although it doesn't taste good, let's have a drink and have a good night's sleep." Shuiyu took the red wine glass and gently swayed the bloody red wine inside. Just as she was preparing to toast with Tang Xiu, her expression suddenly changed and her eyes blinked, saying, "What do you think if this 6 starlight array would need blood to be fully activated?" You see, there are so many plots in the magical story from the Western people where they need all kinds of medium to achieve it, right? Perhaps, blood is exactly the medium of this 6 starlight array. Tang Xiu's expression changed. He immediately put the red wine cup down as his body floated to the top of the cave. He took out his divine sword to scratch his finger. A drop of his blood instantly hit the line of the 6 starlight array. Buzz! The dazzling white beams suddenly burst and shined the whole cave in a flash, appearing like the daytime sunlight. Along with a violent vibration and cracking sound, the 6 starlight array was thoroughly activated. Wild joy immediately covered Tang Xiu's face when he saw the scene. He didn't expect that the key to activating the 6 starlight array laid in the idea of a metaphorical of a bed of flowers that were arranged on the surface, while at the same time inserting the willow to become the shade that covered them. It was the last moment's idea of Shuiyu that was unexpectedly the key to activating the 6 starlight array. At this moment, Tang Xiu could vividly feel each streak of the 6 starlight array, including every mysterious structure and the 6 starlight array overall, which all seemed to be imprinted in his mind. The vibration then led to dust falling unceasingly from the rocks inside the cave, causing all the dishes and drinks on the table to be no longer able to be enjoyed. Tang Xiu floated down quickly to hug Shuiyu while at the same time releasing his primal chaos force to protect both of them. Chapter 922, The Frightened Immortal. Inside the illuminated cave that seemed like it was covered in daylight, the ground under Tang Xiu and Shuiyu's feet suddenly rotated as an enormous sucking force suddenly swallowed them, causing the duo to instantly vanish from their spot. What's this place? In only a flash, the couple appeared in an empty and spacious subterranean space, where a converged river made of magma flowed before them as it poured into the seemingly endless cave. Suspended above the river of magma was a head-sized bulb of light that emitted out a strong life force, giving off a soothing effect to all the open pores of their body. "Look over there, quickly," said Shuiyu as she pointed to the rock wall opposite the magma river. Tang Xiu followed the direction of her finger. His expression immediately changed as he saw something resembling a statue on the gigantic blue stone in the center of the shallow pool that surrounded it. Some inscriptions could be seen carved on its surface. "Let's go there and take a look." Tang Xiu embraced Shuiyu and floated up as they streaked forward to the front of the statue in just a few seconds. He looked around the shallow pool surrounding it before his eyes slowly moved and eventually landed on the writing on the blue stone wall. "I am Tao Master Guai, the only title I've truly been using among the countless existences of my endless reincarnation. This is the place I've been cultivating, which will belong to someone that has been predestined with me. Those who wish to worship me as a master, kowtow to me and you will accept my legacy. Tang Xiu and Shuiyu exchanged dismayed glances. There was no immortal trove, even though they had been looking for it for a long time, and they instead became eligible to accept an inheritance of some Daoist cultivator. Tang Xiu himself was downright disappointed, as this was a letdown to the extreme. Why would he need to inherit someone's legacy with his former power and identity in the first place? Well, it turns out that this immortal trove is kind of an inheritance place of Dao Master Guai, softly said Shuiyu. I wouldn't have tried to open this immortal trove had I known about this, replied Tang Xiu with a forced smile. This is such a waste of time. Eh? Shuiyu looked puzzled and asked, isn't it a good thing that we can get his inheritance though? Not really. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, this type of inheritance is of no use to me unless this person is someone who has reached godhood and became a deity of the gods' realm. Anyways, let's forget it. Since you've tried your best to open this immortal trove and also have already come in here, you can try it. I'm not interested in any of Dao Master Guai's inheritance whatsoever. For a moment, Shuiyu hesitated before she walked over to the cushion outside the shallow pool under Tang Xiu's instruction and kowtowed there. Just as she finished with her kowtow and raised her head, the statue emitted out an enormous aura while the dark green liquid in the shallow pool turned into an aquatic dragon that instantly enveloped her within. The head-sized green sphere that was floating above the magma river suddenly shrunk 100 times its original size, turning into a thumb-sized light sphere before drilling into Shuiyu's forehead. Buzz. A magical aura was formed in the entire subterranean space. Tang Xiu instantly took a look around and found that there were green energy streams coming out from the 9 green beads that were embedded in the wall as they began to interconnect together with Shuiyu, whereas a green mist filled every small corner of the space in just a few seconds. This is... Tang Xiu took a heavy breath and looked surprised as he could clearly feel that the green aura that was flooding around him was strongly rejected by his body. It seemed like there were 2 kinds of magnetic poles, positive and negative, that wanted to force him out of this space. Humph. Tang Xiu quickly grabbed some array discs and arranged them into the 4-division array position lightning fast, while releasing his primal chaos power. After the green aura was dispelled for a few meters, he immediately activated the array, driving away all the traces of the suppressing aura in his chest instantly. After that, Tang Xiu raised his hand to touch his chin while a ruminative look flashed in his eyes. He could tell that this inheritance was not likely to be from just some ordinary Daoist cultivator, unless the person had reached an immortal realm. It would be close to impossible for one to achieve such a feat unless that person used an array to do so. I had never heard of someone named Dao Master Guai back when I was in the immortal world, though. I presume that he's not someone powerful? But now, the inheritance ceremony is about to unfold, so I'll wait. Tang Xiu then sat cross-legged and prepared to absorb the energy of the stars and began cultivating. However, he was immediately stunned when finding that the green energy floating outside the 4-division array unexpectedly isolated and separated this space from the outside world completely. Now, even if he forcefully cultivated here, he was unable to absorb any bits of the star's energy from the outside world. So weird. Tang Xiu sighed and gave up his idea of cultivating here. He took a book from his interspatial ring and then took a seat on the ground to watch the scene quietly. Time fleeted by and 12 hours passed. Tang Xiu had just finished the 4th book and digested all the contents in all of them as his expression slightly changed. He shifted his sight at Shuiyu, who was still being enveloped inside the green light. I understand. Shuiyu's red lips slightly opened as she looked at the statue in front of her, but there was no emotional fluctuation coming from her voice. As her voice faded away, she gently waved her hand and all the green lights in the underground space suddenly swarmed into her body. Then, the whole space returned to its original state in just a few breaths. What a strong aura. Tang Xiu was quite shocked as he looked at Shuiyu. He could sense that her body was now full of power, even the mere aura she emitted out made him feel suffocated. He couldn't even figure out whether this powerful aura came from her or from Dao Master Guai, who passed this inheritance to her. Tang Xiu. Shui called out after she floated to the 4-division array after giving a kowtow to the statue. Tang Xiu removed the array and circled around her while observing her whole being for a long while. Then, he asked, "What's your current cultivation now?" Shui seemed to think for a short moment before a smile suddenly sported on her face. With the wave of her white long dress's sleeve, a miniature version of herself that was enveloped in green light then emerged out of thin air. This mini version of Shui even winked at Tang Xiu while covering her mouth and chuckled. Nascent soul? Tang Xiu's heart quivered a few times. He was quite shocked after looking at the naked and mischievous mini version of Shui in the green sphere of light. Even in his dreams, he never expected that Shui would directly break through to the nascent soul stage from the qi refining stage, by just merely obtaining someone's inheritance. Well, I don't think I'm at nascent soul stage, though. Shui chuckled and continued, I should be at soul formation stage. No shit. Tang Xiu was so shocked that he was rendered speechless and could only stare blankly at Shui's nascent soul. All of a sudden, a blush covered Shui's pretty face and she waved her long sleeves to immediately take her nascent soul back into her body. She didn't feel that it was inappropriate when she first unleashed her nascent soul out naked, but Tang Xiu staring at it afterward was somewhat unbearable. Tang Xiu looked up in astonishment and found the shy and blushing face of Shui. He immediately realized what caused it and loudly laughed. We're wife and husband already. There's no need for you to be shy about. If anything, there's also some good stuff. We can do wife and husband things in double cultivation all day and night sooner or later. That's not right. I've already changed my cultivation technique, making it practically unable to form any nascent soul at all. You can't cultivate a nascent soul? Asked Shui, confused. Why? Tang Xiu took a deep breath, and with a bit of regret in his voice, he spoke. What I once cultivated was a peerless immortal technique, so I was able to cultivate a nascent soul all through the nascent immortal. But later on, due to special circumstances, I turned into an ordinary person, so I began cultivating a whole different, yet more profound, cultivation technique that emphasizes on physique tempering and refining. It's a kind that is practically impossible to cultivate nascent soul with. Shui gently nodded in response. She may have had her cultivation greatly increased by acquiring an inheritance, thus obtaining a lot of useful knowledge, yet she couldn't understand much about Tang Xiu's situation. No longer wanted to prolong the discussion about his own issues, Tang Xiu looked at Shui and asked, anyway, let's talk about your inheritance from this Tao Master Guai. Who exactly is he and what did he impart upon you? Shui spread her palm, causing a green sphere of light to suddenly appear on it. Then she spoke, this is a medium sphere of my master. His soul avatar will appear here. With that said, she instantly activated the green sphere of light. However, Tang Xiu was stunned and his complexion suddenly changed and urgently shouted, don't activate it, Buzz. A terrifying aura emerged out of the green light sphere and, in almost an instant, the green sphere blasted open, forming a green-colored figure before Tang Xiu and Shui. The figure was thin, yet exuded a sage-like aura of an immortal. Shui. I truly never thought my pristine immortal Confucianist sect would have a female disciple again. This would spell trouble. Tao Master Guai shook his head and helplessly continued, hey, whatever will be, will be. Give me a wisp of your soul. You're now henceforth a disciple of my pristine immortal Confucianist sect. However, you must not directly look for me after you've ascended to the immortal world. I'm going to leave a mark in your soul sea, so you can go to that place to find me once you're there. Shui hurriedly knelt and respectfully kowtowed to him thrice. Then she asked while kneeling, why can't I go directly to the pristine immortal Confucianist sect to find you, master? Aren't you one of the elders there? You mentioned it in your inheritance. I'll answer that question of yours instead of him. His pristine immortal Confucianist sect only receives males as disciples and doesn't accept females. Tang Xiu sighed and reached out to pull Shuiyu up and calmly said, "It was once bitten by a snake, and has gone forever meek for thousands of years already." Tao Master Guai zoned out, as only at this moment did he find out that there was still a young man with his disciple who had accepted his legacy. There was a bit of shock on his face as he asked, "Who are you? This place should be Earth, right? How do you know about my sex situation in the immortal world?" A smile was sketched on the corner of Tang Xiu's mouth. "I may not know how much time in the immortal world has passed, but there's one thing I know of. The ancestor of your pristine immortal Confucianist sect was killed by my follower. It was also because of my subordinate that your sect vowed to never accept female disciples again. Although I've never heard of the name Tao Master Guai, I'm familiar with that pristine stream guy from your section." "What?" exclaimed Tao Master Guai in alarm. He instantly stepped back a few steps, starting at Tang Xiu's faintly smiling face for a long while. Then, he suddenly knelt in front of Tang Xiu with a bit of fear and respect in his voice. "Tao Master Guai, the 326th generation pristine immortal Confucianist sect's disciple, pays respect to the Venerable Supreme. Please forgive this junior who has been ignorant and acted in discourtesy before your presence." Chapter 923, Forethought to Prepare for Rainy Days. Tang Xiu could only sigh inwardly. If it wasn't for Shuiyu who moved faster than his speed in preventing her, such a problem like exposing his identity wouldn't have occurred. But fortunately, the pristine immortal Confucian sect was famous for being an outstanding and upright section. All the disciples of the sect were a group of immortal Confucianist scholars. Additionally, Tang Xiu had already done research about this Confucianist scholars sect, and the patriarchal positions such as the sect's elders were extremely demanding in terms of mentality for those who took the office. It was required of them to uphold and advocate the rule of etiquette, rule of virtue, and lastly, emphasizing the rule of man as a whole. Of those three, the etiquette and morality of human affairs were of the most importance. Hence, so long as he could make this Tao Master Guai make a promise today, the crisis caused by exposing his identity would be reduced to a minimum, unless, of course, this man wanted his state of mind to be encroached by hidden dangers, causing him to be unable to have any breakthroughs in the future. After keeping silent for a long while as he looked at Tao Master Guai who was kowtowing to him, Tang Xiu then said indifferently, "The pristine Confucianist immortal sect is just a third-rate sect in the immortal world. Your sect may occupy a plot of land there, but I only need to speak if I want to root you out. It's just that I have no malice towards your sect and have only paid attention to it once. However, today, I want you to promise me something, that way, I won't send anyone to seek out your section. Certainly, if you help me do a certain thing, not only will I present you with lavish gifts in the future, but I'll also give your sect a karmic bond with me." "Please do tell, Supreme Lord," replied Tao Master Guai hurriedly. "One thing I want you to do is that you must conceal the appearance of my avatar here on Earth," said Tang Xiu. "Shuiyu is my woman on this planet. And since she has already taken you as her master, then we're already tied with karma. I hope you can shelter her by the time she has ascended to the immortal world." Tao Master Guai's pupils contracted. He looked up to look at Shuiyu deeply and immediately said, "I, Tao Master Guai, vow to my very soul that I'll never reveal to anyone about your appearance on Earth. Whereas, about your wife, so long as Shuiyu ascends to the immortal world, I'll do everything I can to shelter her." Tang Xiu was satisfied and nodded. "There's something I'm quite curious about, though. How can you leave your inheritance behind on Earth? Could it be that you're an Earthling and then ascended to the immortal world?" "That's right. I was born in the era of the Tang dynasty." Tao Master Guai respectfully replied. At that time, Confucianism had declined whereas Buddhism was more prevalent. "I originally lost hope and then left my legacy here, though I never expected that someone would be able to crack open the 6 starlight array I arranged here and obtain my inheritance." "I see." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "It seems like there's indeed an enormous difference between the flow of time on Earth and in the immortal world. All right, get up. Dao Master Guai cautiously stood up. He shot a look at Shuiyu before shifting his eyes to Tang Xiu. His expression suddenly changed and he asked, Venerable Supreme Lord, how can you? You want to ask why and how I can be here on Earth, right? Asked Tang Xiu with a smile. Well, what are the rumors flying around there, exactly? There really are some rumors about you in the immortal world. It was said that when you were ascending to the god's realm, your body shattered and your soul dissipated. Many of your former disciples, as well as your subordinates, even rushed over to your abode where you lived in seclusion before. They held a huge memorial service for you there. My soul and body disappeared, huh? Tang Xiu faintly hummed. What a joke. My ascension to the god's realm was unusually easy. Anyway, just forget it. I have nothing to do with anything going on in the immortal world for some time. Just wait for me to go back there in the future. I'm going to see those old friends of mine again. Dao Master Guai scrutinized Tang Xiu in front and hesitatingly asked, Supreme Lord, your appearance and your cultivation, how can? Buzz. A rushing burst of aura came into the subterranean space instantly, followed by Gu Yan in her usual white dress appearing out of thin air. She looked like a celestial maiden who descended into the mortal world. When her eyes fell on the soul avatar of Dao Master Guai, she immediately flicked her finger with thick killing intent gleaming in her eyes. You are... Dao Master Guai was extremely shocked and was about to shout out loud. But after seeing her face, he desperately swallowed what he was about to exclaim. With deep fear evident on his face, he called out and bent down on his knees. The 326th generation disciple of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, Dao Master Guai, pays respect to immortal Rakshasi monarch. Shuiyu, whose face greatly changed, instantly blitzed in front of Tang Xiu to keep her off. She was a soul formation expert now, yet she still felt hugely threatened by Gu Yan. The suffocating beauty before her was as though a huge mountain she needed to look up to. Even she could tell that slaying herself would be absolutely trivial for this woman. Master. Gu Yan's brows gently creased and she just shot an indifferent glance at Shuiyu before gracefully greeting Tang Xiu. Master? Shuiyu was stunned. She turned her head and saw Tang Xiu smiling. She then looked at the stunning beauty Gu Yan again, while a stream of strange emotions filled her heart. It was very fortunate that Dao Master Guai only had his soul avatar present at this moment. If his true body were here, he would absolutely be shocked by a master address from Gu Yan. Who doesn't know this female devil? She's a notoriously famous and horrifying female Ashura of the immortal world. Millenniums ago, he once followed his sect elder and happened to see this Rakshasa queen. He still can vividly remember the scenes when this woman's palm only moved plainly, yet she killed countless mortals and immortals in a certain ancient country. At that time, the immortal world's sky there was dyed red with blood, which was the very scene that was deeply implanted in his heart and could never be forgotten even after thousands of years. But how come such a ruthless, lunatic female devil, how come she became this venerable Supreme's disciple? He knew that even though this venerable Supreme also used to slaughter countless immortals and Buddhas alike, he never once killed innocent people, ever. Of course, Tang Xiu himself didn't know what thoughts were swirling inside Dao Master Guai's head. He just smiled and asked, Yan. Why did you come here? Gu Yan waved her hand and constrained Shuiyu before she pushed her a few meters away. After that, she sported a sweet smile and said, I sensed an enormous immortal aura in this pocket dimension, so I came to investigate it, Master. I truly never expected that someone from the immortal world would be here. Well, set them free first, said Tang Xiu with a smile. Gu Yan slightly smiled in response. As she swiftly embraced Tang Xiu's arm, she immediately took back the spell that imprisoned Dao Master Guai and Shuiyu. Shuiyu ran to the other of Tang Xiu and vigilantly stared at Gu Yan. Is she your disciple, Tang Xiu? And you really were a supremacy back in the immortal world? In response, Tang Xiu just lightly smiled. Instead of explaining it to her, he spoke to Dao Master Guai, do remember what you've just vowed. I really hope you never break your promise. Also, this soul avatar of yours is probably unable to go back, right? Then just give its immortal spiritual force to Shuiyu since she's your disciple, after all. Understood, replied Dao Master Guai respectfully. Tang Xiu then took a deep breath and continued, on my part, I'll also remember my promise to you. I'll naturally help you to embark to a higher realm in the future as long as you can keep your word. I'll even give your pristine immortal Confucianist sect a huge chance. Thank you, Supreme Lord. Dao Master Guai respectfully responded. But he cautiously stole a glance at Gu Yan before his avatar turned into immortal spiritual force and fused into Shuiyu's body. Shuiyu, absorb this immortal spiritual force as it will give you great benefits, said Tang Xiu. I know you have your doubts inside, but I'll explain everything to you after you absorb it. All right. Shuiyu complied and then walked to the side and sat cross-legged. Gu Yan, on the other hand, shot a deep look at her before she immediately spoke afterward. Why didn't you just let me kill that Dao Master Guai, Master? He's someone from the immortal world. Should he reveal anything about you, I'm afraid it would be very bad for you. While looking at Shuiyu, Tang Xiu softly replied, now tell me, did you yourself have any way to exterminate his avatar and follow his divine sense to enter the immortal world, and erase his soul there? Gu Yan looked stiff. She shook her head and said, I have yet to recover my power, I'm not even able to recover to a golden immortal realm. It's impossible to destroy his immortal soul. That's the reason. Tang Xiu nodded and explained, if you could track his soul into the immortal world and straightly erase his immortal soul, I would have let you exterminate him in the first place to prevent any contingencies. But since you aren't able to do it, I made a gamble that he'll stick to his vow to conceal the news about me there. Well, there's no need to worry about it too much, Yen. I know a couple of things about his pristine immortal Confucianist sect. The disciples of this sect will never easily break their vows, as the price they must pay would be very great. He won't easily reveal our traces unless he really has to. For a short while, Gu Yan fell into silence. She then shook her head and said, no, this can't do. I'm still feeling somewhat uneasy, Master. How about asking Ji Qimei to leave Earth to return first to the immortal world to erase him? It can't be done. Besides, I don't think it's that easy for Ji Qimei to return there. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, also, although she has recovered from her injuries, it also won't be easy to return back to her peak cultivation realm. One other thing is that even though the pristine immortal Confucianist sect is just a third-rate sect in the immortal world, that sect still has some perfected golden immortal at the helm. Should the assassination fail, it would instead expose us more quickly. Then, what should we do? Asked Gu Yan helplessly. Coldness flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes as he responded in a heavy voice, there's nothing we can do except race against time from today. We must strive to return back to the immortal world as fast as possible. As soon as we return back, I can directly take you to a certain special place. Even though those who have harmed us know that I'm still alive, they won't be able to do anything to us. Gu Yan repeatedly nodded and then asked, what do you want me to do now, Master? Your most important task is to heal yourself and recover, answered Tang Xiu. You can begin to restore your strength once your injuries heal, whereas for me, I'm going to pick up the pace of my cultivation. Once I can break all the shackles of this plane and successfully ascend to the immortal world, I'll have the means to bring a large number of people there by then. For the immortal world is bound to be our battlefield one day in the future. I'll make sure to seize the time to heal myself and recover my previous strength, Master, responded Gu Yan. Also, you can rest assured that I'll spare the time to train a lot of elites as well. Let's do it as quickly as possible. Tang Xiu nodded and said, also, I always feel that Earth is somehow very special. For example, there's a problem of time discrepancy between Earth and the immortal world. It seems like a year on Earth is equal to 10 millenniums in the immortal world, so our enemies are bound to be stronger. We must face much more dangerous situations in the future. Chapter 924, Tang Xiu's Women Are the Shortcut. Light from countless stars sprinkled down to earth from the vast expanse of the sky that was now covered by the curtain of the night, while summer brought the wind to carry its heat waves along the way. Tang Xiu, Gu Yan, and Shui Yu had returned back to the surface, and Tang Xiu immediately decided to return to Ning City. However, he faintly noticed that something was a bit wrong with how the two women interacted with each other. You both already know each other now, so we're our own people in the future, got it? I want you two to get along well in the future. While standing on the hillside and looking up to the starry sky, Tang Xiu spoke in a very particular low and heavy voice. Gu Yan grabbed his arm and went silent for a long time. Then she slowly said, I don't want to be a junior under her, master. I could care less about that, interjected Shui Yu coldly. Tang Xiu forced a wry smile and said, Yan, Shui Yu is my woman, Gu Yan raised her hand to interrupt his words and said, You've clearly known about what's inside my mind, master. The one and only thing that has made me able to survive these past thousands of years is the thought of finding you and accompanying you forever. I can never leave, nor will I ever give you up, even if the immortal world must be destroyed, and even if the total destruction of all myriads of living beings must happen. I couldn't care less, nor do I want to spare any mind, about your other women. But there is one thing for sure, I must follow you, and nobody can separate us, ever. Looking somewhat distressed, Tang Xiu patted her shoulder and softly responded, Silly child, how could I have the thought to abandon you? Huh? I'm the one who has raised you. You're my dearest disciple and there's no one more important to me than you. Even, your position in my heart is the same as my mother. I always knew that I was the most important thing in your mind, master, said Gu Yan excitedly. But I'm not the previous little girl I was anymore. I've already grown up. It's been thousands of years and my age is just equal to the ancestor of her ancestors, so I don't want to be a junior below her. About this, Tang Xiu felt both helpless and overwhelmed. Shui Yu squinted her eyes. She was also a woman and could clearly feel what feelings Gu Yan had towards Tang Xiu. Back when they were still in the underground cave, she also admired this female after she learned of her true identity. After being silent for a while, she broke the deadlock and said, Tang Xiu, she won't give up on you, so you shouldn't give up on her either. Besides, she has survived many millenniums and has managed to get here. Even you can see that the girl you once knew has now become a woman. I do think that the sentiment between you both has surpassed a relationship of a master and his disciple already, so why must you rigidly get tied down by such punctiliousness? Besides, you already have a lot of women, to begin with. Whether you add her to the total or not doesn't really matter. What I want to say is that she doesn't want to be a generation below me, so just simply make her your woman too. Nonsense, chided Tang Xiu angrily. After hearing Shui Yu speak, Gu Yan's eyes gleamed with surprise and happiness. She looked at Shui Yu and asked, Do you really have those thoughts in mind?
Yeah,
answered Shui Yu. Frankly, I'm also a latecomer myself. If I were to use the addressing form on Earth, the most pleasant address to hear is that I'm his lover, whereas the unpleasant title is I'm the third woman, or maybe fourth, or fifth. Alrighty. Gu Yan immediately snatched the moment and said, Then call me Big Sis. I'll call you Lil Sis Yu, and you can call me Sis Yan. Sis Yan, gently responded Shui Yu with a nod. With a pleased and satisfied expression, Gu Yan said, Sis Yu, since we're already sisters, then I gotta give you a gift for our first meeting. But then, what I should gift you though? She frowned and mulled over it for dozens of seconds. Right as Tang Xiu was about to speak out his piece, she suddenly spoke happily, Got it. Your current cultivation level has reached the soul formation stage, right? Then I'm gonna gift you a flying sword. The name of this flying sword is Snow Cicada Star Monarch. I spent some thousands of years to collect many precious treasures in the immortal world to refine this one, so it can be said to be a top-grade weapon even in the immortal world. After saying that, an immortal sword as thin as a cicada's wing appeared out of thin air in her hand. The sword's whole body was covered in a faint blue light and caused a huge turbulence in the surrounding air the moment it appeared. It was as if the space itself was about to split apart. Shuiyu could sense the extraordinariness of this immortal sword. Merely the pressure it emitted out the moment it appeared already made her body freeze. She also fell in love with it at first sight. "Thanks a lot, Sis Yen." This time, it was truly a sincere thanks from the bottom of her heart. Gu Yan affectionately grabbed Shuiyu's hand and then scratched her finger with the immortal sword. Then, she taught her how to unleash and cultivate the sword, concluding with her complacent statement, "Sisyu, you don't need to thank me. We're of the same family in the future, so there's no need to say such trivial words anymore." She was happy. Truly and unusually happy and satisfied. Prior to this time, she used to know that Tang Xiu was always reluctant and unwilling to have any romantic relationship with her given their master and disciple status. But now, she seemed to see a shortcut that could make him accept her and become his woman. That is, to get the approval of all his women. Yet, it gave a headache to Tang Xiu after he saw how the two bells became so close all of a sudden, especially the address Shuiyu gave to Gu Yan and her attitude. He truly wanted to reprimand them, but he was afraid that it would make Gu Yan sad. Thus, he could ultimately bury that depressing feeling in his heart. "You should go back now, Yen." Gu Yan's smiling face replied, "No worries, master. I just came, so I don't need to go back that quick." "That's right, where are you off to next? Shall I send you there?" Tang Xiu gave it a thought for a moment. His eyes suddenly lit up and he smilingly suggested, "If so, then you can tag along to deal with something with me. Take us to Ning City in the Haiqing province." "Alrighty." She grabbed Tang Xiu's hand and also gently held Shuiyu's shoulder. A huge aura then exuded out of her as their figures instantly disappeared. By the time Tang Xiu and Shuiyu felt that heaven and the world were spinning around for a short while, they appeared in a remote place in the eastern municipality of Ning City. "We've arrived." "Already?" Shuiyu looked around in surprise and looked puzzled. Yan's actual strength is of an immortal, so let alone a distance like this, even going to the moon would only take her a second, said Tang Xiu. "Anyway, let's set off. Now that we've arrived in Ning City, there's no rush to go to that place, so we're heading to the Miao to make some plans first." Shuiyu only stared at him with a half-believing, half-doubting look. She may have transformed into a powerhouse at the peak stage of soul formation all of a sudden, but she hadn't yet learned any spells at all, so it was natural that she never knew of such a flight speed. Quickly after, the trio then took a taxi. Only after they entered the bustling downtown street did Shuiyu really realize that they had indeed returned to Ning City. As shocked as she was, she yearned even more to learn how to fly. She could only imagine how free and happy it would be to be able to fly freely in the sky. The manor of the Miao family residence. After combining coercion and bribery to force the taxi driver to drive to the manor's gate, Tang Xiu gave the driver several hundred yuan bills and entered the Miao family's manor under the respectful gaze of the 6 security guards. Brother Tang. When Miao Wentong received the news of his arrival, Tang Xiu was already at his residence. After he rushed over, however, his mouth turned into a big O and his eyes turned big when he saw the 2 women around him. Again, another superb, peerless beauty? Tang Xiu couldn't help but laugh and said, "Brother Miao, why are you showing that current face of yours, huh? Anyway, let me introduce you to my disciple. Her name is Gu Yan." "I'm also master's woman," added Gu Yan hurriedly. Her comment invited Tang Xiu's angry glare as he said, "Don't listen to this girl's nonsensical talk, Brother Miao." As for Miao Wendong, he composed himself and wryly smiled, "I'm truly convinced now, Brother Tang. Each and every woman around you is truly a stunning beauty. You make me feel like all the belles under the sun have become your woman, you know that? Though smiling, Tang Shou snappily snarled at him, "Hey, old man, can you not make fun of me here? Let's just sit down and have a cup of tea. We shall head off to the Lien family directly after Ah comes with his report. We're going to completely eradicate this wicked family." The last word from Tang Shou made it so that Miao Wendong had to suppress his shock inside, and he was able to respond with a solemn face, "The Lien family is literally a malice cancer if they are not removed ASAP. That I know. But, we just can't weed them out just like that, can we? In case." Tang Shou waved his hand and said,
Nah.
"There won't be any predicaments later. You also know that I naturally won't strike them if I don't have assurance, don't you? Just put your worries in your belly, Brother Miao." "But Brother Tang, then the card in your hand is," replied Miao Wendong with a confused face. While pointing at Gu Yan, Tang Shou smilingly said, "Well, it's rather fortunate that my dearest disciple came here. I'm kinda using her strength to deal with them. Even if both of us don't act, the Liens will definitely be doomed today. Completely." Miao Wentong looked at Gu Yan and incredulously exclaimed, "What did you say, Brother Tang? Miss Gu? Is this even possible? Please don't throw such a joke at me." Well. Aren't you looking down on women?" questioned Tang Shou smilingly. "I'm not holding any contempt because she's a woman, mind you," rebuked Miao Wendong with a bitter smile while shaking his head. "It's just that Miss Gu is a young lady and she's also your disciple, so how could she have a way to deal with the Liens? Brother Tang, we are facing quite a serious problem here, so let's be serious. We cannot harm Miss Gu in any way." Tang Xiu, however, let out a strange smile and said, "You also know about the Everlasting Feast Hall, don't you? But do you know who established it?" "Of course I know about that. It's that little boss Gu Xiaoshua's master who founded it," answered Miao Wendong with a nod. What? You mean?" Nodding and smiling, Tang Xiu replied, "Yup. She's Xiaoshua's master, so now you should understand, right?" Miao Wentong desperately gulped down. He looked at Gu Yan with shock fully covering his face. He then muttered, "It turns out that once one's cultivation has reached a certain realm, then that person can really keep their youthful looks. Miss Gu. No. That's not right. I should address you as Senior Gu. It's just that I never expected that the founder of the Everlasting Feast Hall would turn out to be so young, and as stunningly beautiful as you are." Tang Shou burst into laughter and smilingly said, "Oh, my. Please don't throw the flattery. That trick won't work on her." However, Gu Yan smilingly interjected, "But I think his words are very effective on me, master. I'm indeed a very beautiful flower as well as so young and promising. How can I otherwise deserve to be your woman, right?" In the end, it was Miao Wentong whose head got short-circuited, as he was now unable to figure out what kind of relationship there was between Tang Xiu and Gun Yan. Chapter 925, The Backers Behind the Lien Family. At night, in the residence of the Miao family's head, Mo Jin Shi, and the rest who had received the news from Tang Xiu finally arrived. They reported the results of their investigation in the last few days. Yet, they couldn't find out who the backers behind this family were at all. "All right. I'm heading there with Yen, so you guys will stay here and wait for the result," decided Tang Xiu eventually after he gave it some thought. "But Brother Tang, though I know that you and Senior Gu are very formidable, with only you two going over to the Lien family, it's kind of, what if," blurted out Miao Tang quickly. "Spare your senior a this and that regarding Yen, Brother Miao. It's fine for you to just call her by her name." Tang Xiu waved her hand and said, "You can rest your worry about us going alone though. Even if those people are from the netherworld, there won't be a problem with Yen here." "This?" Miao Wentong was still hesitant a bit, but he eventually nodded and said, "You don't want my clansmen to go with you, So please at least let me and Moao's group tag along. They are very formidable and I think quite comparable to myself. Only when you make the men stand guard in the vicinity for assistance will I feel relieved. If so, then you guys will follow us. Alright, let's not delay matters, shall we? It won't be convenient for us to act if it's daytime, so let's directly head off to the Lien family's place, said Tang Xiu with a smile. Gu Yan slightly chuckled and said, just tell me the place where the Liens live or tell me the appearance of their residence. I'll take you all there. You mean, looking confused, Miao Wendong asked, Gu. Boss Gu, have you ever been in Ning City before? Indeed, I have once visited this place before, but it was over 20 years ago, answered Gu Yan. Miao Wendong understood instantly and then told her the address of the Lien family's residence, including with the features of the building as she had requested. After some time, just as Miao Wendong was about to call someone to prepare a car, he only heard the buzzing sound of the wind and felt the world spinning around him. Soon after, he saw the environment in the surroundings had changed. What's going on? He looked around with a dumbfounded look and couldn't help but exclaim. Just a moment ago, he was sitting in his house, so how did he end up somewhere else in the blink of an eye? That's not right, this place is, the vicinity near the Lien's residence? You've never experienced it, so it surely seems strange to you. But you don't need to feel confused, brother. Yan's power is beyond your imagination, said Tang Xiu smilingly. Anyway, you guys just wait here. I'm heading straight there with Yan. Also, don't worry. We still have a way to inform you should we encounter any danger inside. Understood. Mo Og glanced at the shocked Miao Wendong. Even though his group was also shocked, they were still able to compose themselves much better than this man. It was some time before daybreak and the Lien family's residence was in the midst of a serene atmosphere. In particular, the villa in the north looked like it was being engulfed by a deathly stillness. There were literally no other living beings other than the Lien family's ancestors who lived in the underground space. But Tang Xiu and Gu Yan were able to find that there were more than 40 experts of this family in the surroundings outside the underworld Great Array. They were divided into 6 teams that kept patrolling the place. Quite a tight security measure, huh? Gu Yan commented with a smile. She looked like she was enjoying the time spent alone carrying out the task with Tang Xiu. It's indeed quite tight. Tang Xiu smiled and said, if we didn't have the invisibility charm I refined, we could have been discovered by them already. Anyway, this underworld Great Array is nothing to us, so I'll take the lead towards the inside. All right. Her beautiful face beamed with a thicker smile as Tang Xiu's hand winded on her waist. A short while after, they had silently appeared in the underground space below the rockery. As Tang Xiu saw an old man sitting cross-legged, he blitzed lightning fast and instantly sent a blow to kill him. A smile was now worn on his face as he said, there were 3 ancestors of the Lien family here back then. They probably noticed that I killed 2 of them, so they replaced them with 2 others to fill up the secret chambers. Yen, if my guess is correct, a new array should have been arranged here to cover all the 49 underground secret chambers. Each chamber has great benefits to the Lien family's ancestors. It's the Netherworld Great Array, said Gu Yan. Tang Xiu's brows creased and he replied, the Underworld Great Array is on the outside, while there is another Netherworld Great Array on the inside. How did the Lien lay out these 2 arrays? You also note that these 2 arrays need very special materials as well as some very particular methods to arrange. Even cultivators at the Golden Core stage could only dream about it if they wanted to arrange them. The Lien family's ancestor has already become a half-revenant master, sighed Gu Yan. I can sense that there's some particular thing inside their bodies. What object exactly? And how come I was unable to notice it, responded Tang Xiu with a puzzled face. After he questioned himself, only then did Tang Xiu's face turn slightly red as he realized that his present strength compared to Gu Yan's was simply like the difference between day and night. She could sense it, but he may be unable to do the same. Gu Yan just chuckled and said, "Please wait a bit. I'm going to tell you about it later, master." After saying that, she gently raised her hands as two enormously powerful streams of qi shot up instantly. In just a few seconds, all of the 49 Lien family ancestors inside those secret chambers were all dragged out to the front. While watching their expressions enormously alter, Gu Yan instantly acted to constrain all of them. "Curse it! Who the hell are you?" One of them tried to struggle and growled loudly with a flushed face. He was wearing a red robe, sported a chignon hairdo in front of the temple, and had a black mole at the corner of his mouth. Tang Xiu just coldly snorted at him before his eyes swept over to the 49 people. He then slowly asked, "If you answer a question of mine, I'll give you a bit better death, otherwise, you'll taste my methods that will give you a sensation that you might as well die instead of being alive." Did it ever come to mind that all those you've harmed also tasted that feeling? The old man in the red robe furiously yelled, "Give us your origins if you want us to answer your question. Else, we'll never answer your question even if we have to die. The thing is, you'll never know who I am." Tang Xiu faintly smiled. "Besides, it's just a waste of words even if I tell you about me. But I can dispel some of your doubts, though." The red-robed old man asked, "What doubts?" "Well, didn't the patriarch of your family just lead your other clansmen to seek revenge?" asked Tang Xiu. "You see, all of them died to my hand, though." The face of the red-robed old man enormously changed. Although he couldn't move his body, he still furiously roared, "Guodong! Tell me the cause." The only old man in a Chinese tunic glared at Tang Xiu with an incredulous expression and called out, "You were the one who killed them? You wretched punk! My father and my sixth uncle were also killed by you?"
Yeah.
"I did kill 2 old men of your Lien family," answered Tang Xiu. "Well, I suppose those 2 are your father and your sixth uncle." The old man in the Chinese tunic shouted, "Ninth Grandpa, Lien Bai, the current head of our family, took out some of the clansmen to seek revenge on his mortal enemies, the ones who killed his younger brother as well as some of our past geniuses." The red-robed old man coldly hummed and stared at Tang Xiu. "Do you also have a mortal enmity with my family?" "I didn't," Tang Xiu shook his head and continued, "but now I have." His answer made the red-robed old man silent for a few seconds as he slowly asked, "What exactly do you want to know?" "Well, what exactly is going on in your family? Why did you have some people arrange the 2 great arrays from the underworld and the netherworld? Also, from where did you get this ghost cultivation art? And lastly, the one thing I want to know the most, what's the origin of those behind your family?" The red-robed old man was so shocked that he blurted out, "You know about the underworld great array and the netherworld one? Curse it! Who exactly are you?" "Well, I'm just a cultivator," replied Tang Xiu. The other party ferociously stared at Tang Xiu and replied with a heavy voice, "I know you're a cultivator. But we have no enmities whatsoever, so why the hell did you kill the members of my family, and why did you rush here to our place and attack us tonight?" There's a line that I never like to say it myself, good and evil can never coexist. Of course, it sounds so forced, right? But then, I really abhor when the strong abuse and torment the weak. In particular, I detest those who are cultivating and become neither human nor ghost, yet cruelly harm common people in the process. "Humph, good and evil are always in conflict for eternity," snorted the red-robed old man. "But I warn you that the ones behind my family are a horrifying existence beyond what you can imagine. He needs my family to provide them with human souls and blood, while my family also needs cultivation arts to get stronger. If you dare shake the foundation of my family and ruin all the hard work we've done, you can be sure that they will come haunting you and rip you to pieces." Suddenly, he blinked and grinned, sorry. I seem to have said it a bit lightly. Ripping you to pieces won't even be enough to vent out their grudge. They will absolutely pull your soul out and imprison it in the endlessly burning ghost flame, burning you inside it so you'll scream in extreme pain and agony until your soul is decimated. Tang Xiu's expression slightly changed as he could sense that the temperature in the surroundings suddenly dropped several degrees. A particular and erratic chilling wind blew as 4 blobs of black ghost flame appeared out of the blue. Humph, playing some cheap tricks, huh, snorted Tang Xiu coldly. The instant after, however, a black sickle appeared in Gu Yan's hand. She gently swept it to the front as 2 shrill screams suddenly sounded out. The 2 blobs of will-o'-the-wisp then condensed into human forms, turning into 2 humanoid figures formed by Yin Qi whose waists had been cleaved and were screaming on the ground in agony. Curse it! What kind of horrifying people did you Lians just provoke? It's immortal spiritual power. You are someone from the immortal world. The other 2 will-o'-the-wisps transformed and eventually condensed into 2 humanoid shadows with blue faces and fangs in their mouth, making them look extremely nasty. Gu Yan flicked her finger to bind these 2 ghosts and sneered, "Just ghost commanders-in-chief from the insignificant low plane of the ghost realm, yet you dare to meddle in the mortal world? Are there some big problems in the netherworld and your ghost realm or something, causing even your ghost monarch to be no longer able to contain you? Please spare us, venerable immortal." The 2 ghosts were scared shitless as they let out an extremely panicked scream. Their voices were high-pitched and jarring to the ears, like sounds made by a fork scraping against a plate.